Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right, capsule. This is a small segment of my Office Hours live stream that I do on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm not going to Pacific GMT on twitch.tv/TheAstroPub and youtube.com/TheAstroPub live. Come join us live and join chat here. Say hello, chat, where we talk about the latest news, lore updates, discussions. It's an AMA stream, so if you come in and ask me questions, I'll do my best to answer them. And of course, we tackle some of these latest updates. We've been doing these read-throughs of the monthly reports for some time now. I think we're up to 5 or 6 on this channel, but we've been doing them for years before this. And it's important for me, as always, to say, this is not a summary. There is nothing wrong with summaries. Nubifier and Space Tomato and so many other folks do fantastic jobs of summarizing these reports. So I'm not saying that summaries are bad, but I am saying if you really, really want to understand the context and the point of what's being said in the monthly reports, it's important that you read them yourself. And if not read them yourself, then at least hear through them, like listen to them. I don't know why CAG doesn't do that already. Just have someone read it off so people can listen to it while they do other things, but it is what it is. I will do that until then. And so that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to read off every single part of the monthly report from last month. And I will be adding my own kind of thoughts and some context, because some stuff will be mentioned that will have been mentioned in the past. And so you can get some idea of like how this has been developing over time. Well, that said, let's get started with the April 2023 monthly report. All right. AI content. In April, the AI content team continued to refine behaviors, improve animations, and develop new features for the PU and Squadron 42. This involved further work on the sleep and bed relaxation behaviors, which received improved animations. They also polished the various leisure animations that allow characters to watch TV and use the mobiGlass on bunk beds. Various AI blockout animations for janitorial tasks were created, such as placing using the bucket, and mop. AI content also made significant progress on the janitor's workflow, and design animation worked closely together. Working closely together. AI content added variation to the trolley artwork, moving away from the white box version. Further expansion was planned too. They're currently looking to prevent trolley popping and improve box placement in the hangar for a more realistic and less robotic feel. AI tech. Last month, AI tech progressed with navigation and movement system features. They also completed tasks for the navigation cost area modifier, which will mark specific areas and increase or decrease the cost of paths to go through them. This will influence which path NPCs or ground vehicles choose, alongside polishing and providing feedback on the feature. A way for entry tags to influence cost areas was implemented. For example, a location with fire will have a high cost for normal NPCs to ensure they avoid it. However, the same area will have a lower cost for NPC wearing fire protection. Work also began on ground vehicle collision avoidance, which involved updating the system to support both vehicle-to-vehicle and vehicle-to-NPC avoidance. This required unifying how agents are separated. Previously, they were separated by agent type, medium characters, large vehicles, etc. Now all agent types with different avoidance radius Now all agent types with different avoidance radiuses and rules are processed together, providing they're in the same navigation volume. Basically, they'll try to avoid all characters no matter what they are, as long as they're in the same location. AI tech updated behavior and tactical point system requests relating to transit. They also cleaned up and optimized transit and movement system, which involved updating the pause movement functionality logic used when running navigation link logic. Now we'll only pause the movement request at that moment, and all follow requests will be processed. tactical point system. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, there's a system that's in place for AI. Every AI, like hostile AI, has a certain number of points that say a squad of AI will share. Those points are then spent on specific special abilities. So some AI, this isn't in the game right now, this is something they've been working on for a while, specifically for Squadron, but it's going to be ported over to Star Citizen sometime around 4.0. A squad will have specific specialties. So some snipers, pushers, various different personalities and specific like weapon types and such. And each of them will have special abilities that they'll use to make it interesting for players. Like pushers will constantly move up on you. They'll constantly be aggressively moving towards you. They might move from cover to cover, but they're still going to be constantly moving in your direction. Whereas a sniper will stay back and try to hit you from a distance with a weapon, and so on and so forth. Now, some, like gunners, have special abilities where they can just constantly fire at you and not have to spend any points. But all the other NPCs will have to spend points to do specific actions. So some actions are free, like taking cover, but other actions, like firing a weapon, cost points. And so each squad will have a certain pool of points that they can pull from, as well as their own individual points for each AI, and they have to determine how those points are going to be spent. So each squad will have a random will decide based off of what they want to do, who's spending what points. This means that every single time you encounter an AI, the AI squad will work differently because they're going to be randomly pulling from those points based off of their behavior and their own sort of personalities. This is kind of, they call it the tag system, I think, where they can kind of slap these tags onto AI and have them do different things that they want them to. This is the new system that they've been developing for a while and will be put into the game post 4.0. So. On the AI tool side, improvements and optimizations were made for Use Coordinator. The team also extended the debug AI tools, most notably adding a visualizer for testing tactical point system requests. There you go. AI vehicle features. The vehicle feature team completed the new fighter combat AI flow design and can now play against NPCs with reasonable variety of behaviors. They recently moved on to testing and tweaking, though they'll continue to further modify behaviors based on various character traits. For example, making them more aggressive or cautious, which results in visible differences in NPC behavior. This will be the AI feature team's focus over the coming months. Time was also spent improving ship spline following. This involved implementing new algorithms for calculating a ship's speed along a spline to prevent it from flying off. They also began experimenting with the procedurally generated splines feature, which enables ships to fly around reasonably detailed geometry without colliding with anything. This will be useful for various features, including the ship recall feature mentioned in last month's report. So the first part, they're completely overhauling the AI system for flight. So the AI combat has been basically everything you know about ship NPC combat, just throw it in the bin. It's thrown away. Gone. Out. Garbage. Rubbish. They're completely working it from the ground up. Why? Because they're going to have it use the similar system that they use for the AI FPS, the tag system that I just talked about. And they want to change it so it's a lot more aggressive, close quarters, and more engaging. This is specifically for Squadron, but it will also port over to Star Citizen. This also means that ships will have different behaviors. Some of them will be more aggressive, some of them will hang back more, so you start to see different ships acting differently depending on who's piloting them. And the ship spline system is this new kind of combined system for avoiding locations and such. So, including the ship recall, which I believe is the thing that lets the ship come to you. I may be wrong on that one, though. I'd have to look that up again. Animation. Animation continued discussing creatures, creating a matrix showing the skeleton classes they think should exist and how creatures could use them. Very cool. So they're starting to work on specific creatures and different types of skeletons they're going to use for those creatures. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to see creatures tomorrow, but I think it does mean that we're going to start seeing creatures come into the game, likely 4.0 and beyond. Again, personally, I don't think 4.0 is coming out until March of next year, so that would be my guess, is Q1 or Q2 of next year is when we'll see some of that aspect, because it's been in active development for a while, and they're getting to the point of just rigging animations. They've had the behaviors done, they have some of those models done already, so now it's just a matter of rigging all that up and making it work. Art characters. Last month, the character art team completed the Frontier Toxic and Desert Environmental wear outfits. Turn down the volume a little bit because I'm sure it's a little hard to hear. The Duster faction's common outfit and the Frontier Light helmet. Alongside this character concept art, prepared to hand off sheets for the Headhunters gang and Duster outfits, and began exploring an upcoming subscriber item. So for those of you who don't know, Dusters are another Stanton gang. So they're a gang that's going to show up similar to the Nine Tails. So it should diversify your enemy types in Stanton a little bit more. And of course, the Frontier stuff is stuff that's specifically for Pyro. So. Art ships. Last month, the EU vehicle content team completed the final art pass on an all-new vehicle, and the LOD art pass began on one of its variants. Another new ship passed its white box stage. This is nearing completion and will move on to the next production stage once the upcoming review is completed. The team wrapped up on the RSI Lynx rover, while another upcoming ground vehicle processed through gray box stage. So this is important. If they said another vehicle, it's not something we've already seen. Generally speaking, they would say what vehicle processed through gray box stage if it's already been announced. So that's a unannounced land vehicle, ground vehicle, a white box ship, final art on a new vehicle, and the LOD art pass on one of its variants. That's almost certainly the Fury. So that's interesting. Almost certainly the gray box stage of the ground vehicle as well is almost certainly the what we know already exists because it's been through leaks is the Storm, the Tumbril Storm. So that's probably what that is as well. And the ship that's in white box stage nearing completion will probably be the new Xi'an ship that was also leaked. That's probably it as well. All right. The LOD pass on the Argo SRV was completed. Relating to this, a support pass for tractor beams began, which includes retrofitting the new vehicle tractor beams onto existing supported ships. It also involves ensuring that all valid components can be removed using the FPS tractor beam. Very good. That means that they're actively working on the tractor beam for ships, which is a good sign, because that was in April. I wouldn't be surprised if the next monthly report we get, or the one we get in June, may actually, or the one we get in July, may actually tell us that it's completed. I'm almost certain that this is pointing towards ship-based tractor beams being done for 320. This has been achieved by adjusting the art and collision on some component bays, as well as ensuring there's a clear path to remove components from the vehicle. Very cool. That's something they've been needing to do for a while, because things like the, the Carrack, for instance, there's just some components you're just never getting out, because there's just no way to getting it out. It wasn't designed with that in mind. A component bay pass continued on the MISC Freelancer, which progressed through LOD 0 and final art phase. And the Crusader A1 Spirit continued through LOD 0 phase, passing the gray box review gate. Additionally, the C1 cargo variant entered the gray box stage. So, that's all important. The A1, the C1, and I believe the E1 are all in certain stages of gray box. Almost certainly we'll see them by the end of the year. I know some people are like, oh, this is going to come out in Invictus. No, there was no point. That the Spirit was never going to come out in Invictus. I thought at one point, because of how quickly it was going through, but once I realized by, I think, like March or so, they're like, yeah, it's still in gray box. I'm like, there's no way it's coming out. It's still going to be an IAE ship release, but so it's still going to come out this year, but It's going to take a bit. In the US, gray box in an upcoming vehicle was completed. Very cool. We have redesigned the dashboard and cockpit to allow for better visibility while driving in first-person view. So this is a ground vehicle. We also did a short pass on optimization as we found they may have gotten a bit overboard in detail and need to pull back a bit, especially in areas rarely seen by the player. Graybox on the Aopoa Santokyai progressed, with several areas being redesigned and fleshed out, including the rail system within the glass canopy. The team also created several iterations of the seat and settled on a design that highlights Aopoa's use of Xi'an anti-grav technology. We're getting an anti-grav chair! In addition, they progressed on a new dashboard to further push the use of alien tech. That's pretty good. So we've got, the US is doing at least one ground vehicle. The EU team is doing the MISC Freelancer overhaul, the gray box ground vehicle, white box ship, and a brand new vehicle, which is almost certainly the Fury, with its variant, which is the Lot Zero Pass for the Fury. I don't think we'll see the variant of the Fury out this month, but we may see it in 320. Community. The community team supported the Alpha 3.18.1 and 3.18.2 release, as well as a recent Free Fly event. Preparations are in full swing for upcoming Alien Week, and work continued on the new player hub. The team also is working on numerous improvements for the community hub, many of which have been highly requested, and more info will be shared soon. There's still not a single, and I mean a single bit, like a single option for lore videos. Now, of course, I may be a little biased, but there are more lore videos out there than mine, and it will be a evolving category as Star Citizen moves on, as we get Squadron 42 and such, especially since it's a Chris Roberts game. So, get ahead of the curve, maybe? Make me happy? April also saw the kickoff of Bar Citizens World Tour. For the first time, members of the community team visited Phoenix, Arizona in the US, and followed up by another visit to Paris, France. Further, as well as supporting Bar Citizen event in Manchester, UK, with over 100 players and 40 staff. Several members of the team attended the community organization Con 42 near Frankfurt, Germany. The third iteration was an incredible event which brought nearly 600 community members, as well as many from the CIG staff who answered some burning questions in 2 dev panels. It was a privilege to attend such a fantastic event and meet so many of you in person. We love supporting the super engaging event, community team. Lastly, the team has been entrenched in CitizenCon 2953 planning, with announcements and activities to be revealed very soon. They're excited to share what's in store for the epic return of this in-person celebration of all things Star Citizen and, most importantly, the community. So keep your eyes peeled in the coming days for more details. All right. I'm about to do the engine read through, and I do this every time, but I really do mean it. I am not a engine seer. I do not know the will of the Omnissiah. I am not a Starfleet engineer. I cannot turn rocks into replicators. I am me. Just me. I have very little idea of what these people are talking about. So if you speak the binaric cant and can understand the beeps and boops and scanning for little life forms then of the engine team, then please let me know in the comments below what they are talking about. It really would help a lot. With that said, let's jump into the engine team. Besides support for the ongoing patch release, the core engine team ironed out tech developed over the last few months, readying it to be integrated into the main development stream. This includes the new P4K format, which will speed up the game's startup. When QA is finished, the engine team will begin integrating it into main development stream and enable it for all of the departments. So the P4 case thing has been worked on for a long time. The pack file stuff the pack format has been something they've been working on a lot. I know a little bit about that. The idea, obviously, here to speed up the game startup means probably makes it less load time, which would be nice. New internal code build system, Star Build, is in the final stages of having Linux compilation enabled. Afterwards, the team will start to roll this out internally. I don't know what that means. Someone who probably knows better than I do. For memory management, the engine team are continuing to develop the internal tool to better analyze memory usage and later reduce the memory usage of the game. For Gen 12 renderer, the team ported the last remaining legacy rendering passes to the new API. They also began deleting the no longer needed legacy code. Improvements to the streaming systems began too. First, the team simplified logic to update their per-instance streaming data, which will leave less code to maintain. Additionally, they began moving over streaming logic away from the main thread to background workers. This affects the frame time less and streams objects much faster. Okay. Work is also done on the generic shape system, with the current focus on the editor to allow the designers to set up multiple sub-segments. To improve entity areas, significant code work was done to ensure consistent and non-duplicate enter/leave events are sent in all cases. The entity lifetime system was also updated to allow the designers to specify areas with different rules. For example, adding aggressive cleanup to areas where gameplay is important, like hangars. Various bug fixes and optimizations were completed too. Physics team added winch support to the rope system, which allows them to switch between fixed and pulley attachments. I swear to God, is this rope system just a joke? It's just a giant. Are we going to get a detailed rope system that's actually going to have more functions in like 4 events in Squadron 42? Please? Does this mean we're going to actually have, I don't know, rappelling or like actual cranes? For Alpha 3.18 release and beyond, work went into managing the memory of physics objects. This will allow them to collect every allocation call site as well as utilize customizable upper object limits, which will help to detect leaks. Additionally, the old error-prone manual ref counting was replaced with a tagged weak pointer approach, which is safer and more friendly to multi-thread threading code. Geometry parts are now assigned a unique ID to enable them to be queried by name. As a side effect, this puts more requirements on debug names, which will make them more expressive and globally unique. Additionally, the individual physical collision of geometry parts can now be disabled. Improvements were also made to physically based wheeled vehicles on how they handle contact with hard surfaces. A new specialized AABB tree was introduced for use with signed distance fields, which favors fast tree generating speed at the cost of slower calling code. Lastly, various bug fixes and optimizations were done. That's something that we talked about at ISC, the changing how wheel vehicles function. So I will say, though, that the whole rope thing is proof that CIG is not just going to stand at beams. They will obviously expand the systems that they're building beyond just beam gameplay. Just beam gameplay will always be around. Features Arena Commander. Now, this is a team you should be paying attention to. During April, the Arena Commander feature team focused on Alpha 3.18.x release support and finalized planning for the rest of the quarter. Engineering team supported the code rework of the VMA/loadout customization menus. This will enable it to work better alongside the new spawning technology introduced with persistent entity streaming. Analytics work was also completed, including adding support for features coming later this year. Finally, for engineering, several new gameplay modes and filters for the new front end were created to help players find modes they want from the new game mode selection window. Arena Commander's design team finished 2 versions of the reworked Deferred Link track, which were successfully playtested. While only one of these maps can become Different Link, after overwhelmingly positive feedback, we'll be releasing the other as a brand new 4th edition to the New Horizons Speedway Collection. Arena Commander Design Team. Very cool. CIG literally just said, ¿Por qué no los dos? Design also continued to polish the highest threat level, the new Arena Commander front end. If you want to know that joke, you got to join the League of Relic Enthusiasts, my organization. Arena Commander front end, adding filters, detail okay. Design also continued to polish the new Arena Commander front end, adding filters, detail to the game mode tiles, and video backgrounds to the mode buttons. Finally, designs were completed for an unannounced feature. Look me in the eye. Look me in the eye as I ponder my orb of lore knowledge, of my Lorstradamus powers. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I believe that unannounced feature is what is now known as Theaters of War. It may have changed. It may have completely been redesigned since its initial iteration and become something different. But I can guarantee you that's something that's going to be released this year, and it's going to be something around that. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong, but I'm still going to be bold because this team they've been plotting, dare I say, scheming something for Star Citizen that we're going to have to pay attention to, especially for CitizenCon. Features, characters, and weapons. In April, the features team began adding EVA fuel to the actor loadout. Woo! This is big. That means that the resource system works. When implemented, players will use fuel as they accelerate or decelerate while free roaming in zero gravity. If fuel runs out, they can use their oxygen supply as low-grade emergency supplement to get them safely. However, jumping from surface to surface using zero-G traversal system will now use fuel, making it a viable option for players traveling without thrusters or that are low on fuel. Multi-tool tractor beam can now be used to navigate environments without gravity too. The team also worked on flak ammunition. This generates a single projectile that on explosion breaks into additional projectiles that fire in random directions. Part of this included implementing the option to add proximity trigger to any projectile. That's big. A proximity trigger to projectile could mean things like artillery shells, airburst artillery shells, or airburst bombs. Because right now the bombs impact the ground and explode, but anyone who knows how airburst works, an airburst will actually hit more of an area than if it hits the bomb, because if the bomb hits the ground, it'll have to spread out from the ground up and out. But airburst goes right down. It's like a shotgun goes straight down. So that's... Oh, okay. That's big. That's a huge thing. New EVA system stuff isn't being implemented already. Features, gameplay. All right, this is a big one. This is a long one. Last month, EU-based team progressed with the mining update and tractor beam detach/attach feature, which are targeted for release in Alpha 3.19. It's important to note that this was written for April, so this is stuff they worked on in April. For salvage, development of the mulching feature began, with the first prototype finished for internal iteration. So mulching is already being done. This is about the time they were working on whole scraping for last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if mulching is in 4.0 or something like that. So for those of you who don't know what whole mulching is, it's the next step beyond whole scraping. It's basically taking the superstructure that you've power washed clean and then breaking it, and then using that to process and to scrap. It's the last step. Now that we have removal of components and weapons and like missiles and whole scraping, the mulching is the last step for salvage. For Refinery, the first blockout of the UI screen was created, and the gameplay beats of the various refining methods were discussed. The team now have a clear understanding of what the different deliverables will look like and how actual gameplay will play and feel. In the US, the design team implemented the halls for Invictus Launch Week. This was done using a new functionality from the USPU team, which not only reduces the setup time, but also eliminates the possibility of a significant number of bugs historically encountered during the event's setup. Nice. In April, the team refactored how in-game ship prices and insurance expedite fees and times are calculated. The process is now automated based on the ship's stats and characteristics, and will continue to evolve as this amount of data is factored into the price calculation. Increases. That's interesting, because that could mean that CIG is building a system that's robust enough that will scale with your unique items. So if you have an aftermarket, say, shield generator that's a higher value than your stock one, then your insurance will go up because you have to pay for that replacement as well. That's interesting. Because it's not just timers, it's also expedite fees. So like how much money you're paying. As a result of redistributing mineable resources, the team completed their initial pass on refineries. This will change how efficiently each location This will change how efficiently each location refines specific ore based on the abundance of mineable resources within that region. Along with this, they're currently rebalancing the sell prices of refined resources at the admin and trade and development division offices to account for this new distribution. These changes are currently in the PTU and will continue to iterate on the new prices as we review the data we receive from testing. This is something people have been trying out really a lot and enjoying it. Finally, the engineers focused on the new cargo deck and external cargo loading gameplay loop that will be used to support ships such as the Misk Hull C. Boom, right there. This is the first step in a sequence of planned updates to make cargo gameplay more physical and tangible. Fundamental concepts such as cargo warehouses and asynchronous buy and sell orders not only support the Hull C, but were important elements to the manual cargo loading within hangars. That's huge. So, for those of you who don't know, the Hull C was announced for 320, which is the patch that's coming after 319. Now, we don't know exactly when 320 is coming out, but it is the quarter 3 patch, and traditionally the quarter 3 patch comes out after CitizenCon, so the end of October, which means there's about 5 months between now and 320. At this point, I was thinking, well, why are they releasing the Hull C if they don't have gameplay to support it? Because the Hull C requires you to only transport goods from station to station, because you can't land a Hull C in an atmosphere because the fully loaded. Because the fully loaded, it blocks the landing zone. So they have to be able to use the Hull C in atmosphere or in space, which means that space has to have a lot of different aspects. You need to have cargo decks, you need to have tractor beams, you need to have more dynamic economies. All of these things are more important for the Hull C to be relevant in game. Now, I was worried that CIG was just going to kick it out because technically the Hull C could function even if all those features weren't in. But this sounds like CIG is legitimately trying to develop some of these features for the Hull C's implementation in 320. So keep an eye out. This is a big one. Features mission. To add greater variety to in-mission ship combat, the mission features team began adding all ships into the enemy spawn pool. Pirate Argo MPUV, baby! The Argo cargo will fly! Legions of Argo cargo pirates! We used a tool to pit all ships against one another 1,000 times to determine a difficulty progression. Did you use the ultimate battle simulator? Is that what you used? Oh, that's great. That's great. I can't wait for the attack of 1,000 Argos. Work also continued on salvage missions, with attention given to missions that where salvage is used to restore valuable profits, or to restore valuable profits, restore valuable ships for profit. Oh. So instead of, it's reverse salvage, it's repair. Let's just repair. Yeah. Development continued on the package extraction, data heist, and consignment retrieval missions, another kind of confusing one. Various ship interiors were also marked up ready for combat. Awesome. On the code side, many much-needed fixes were added, while work on players defending their ships is almost complete and will soon begin testing. Defending their oh, right. Y'all haven't been paying attention to Squadron 42s, have you? That's the thing they're working on right now, is AI being able to disable and board your ship. And yeah, I did just say that. They're working on AIs transitioning from space to other people's ships. It's a part of the AI process. So now, yeah, that's going to be a thing. All right. Graphics, VFX programming, and Planet Tech. Last month, the graphics team worked towards enhancing the game's realism, functionality, and developer workflow with a range of long-awaited features and upgrades. For example, streaming locally compiled skinned meshes is now possible, allowing for a much quicker loading and replication of the release build. The editor also saw a new HUD feature that indicates when resources are being compiled. Water volume fine-tuning began for use on planets, specifically with atmospheric and fog volumes. These integrations are part of the Q2 water deliverables, which also include water ripple simulations in all bodies of water, even down to puddles. A series of performance and compatibility improvements were made to the core renderer. This included the removal of some legacy CPU to GPU buffer management synchronization, which could on occasion cause things to NVIDIA driver. Could cause hangs in NVIDIA drivers. Oh, my nose. I'm just getting all stuffed up for some reason. The team also began moving volumetric fog and gas clouds to Vulkan. They're currently looking to enable the feature following essential compatibility, functionality, and visual quality control fixes. The UI tech and graphics team made considerable progress on the interior map feature. This is the thing that allows you to see a map of like a landing zone or a ship. Last month, the map's core visual features were completed, with the current focus on performance improvements and polycount optimization. A temporal super resolution prototype was integrated too, paving the way for improved resolution and clarity across the entire game. Awesome. For the ongoing development of Fire Tech, new shared resource manager now efficiently manages 3D texture data across multiple fire emitters associated with a single voxel grid. As part of this, the voxel grid received several important bug fixes, including an out-of-bounds issue caused by discrepancies between the iteration code and the preliminary code. This fix ensures accurate and consistent rendering of voxel-based elements within the game. In-game branding, Montreal. In April, the in-game branding team created interior and exterior signage for Pyro's Ruined Station and continued supporting the EU location team. This is a new image of the new rock caves, by the way. This is the caves we have right now. This is what they're going to look like in the future. Mwah. All right. Lighting. The lighting team progressed with core work on cave lighting, which will be added to the PU's new and existing caves. Progress continued on Ruined Station alongside other smaller tasks too. Very cool. Live Tools. The Live Tools team progressed with the design of the new Network Operations Center feature. They're currently involved in the continuous improvement of the tool, which aims to provide the best experience possible to its users. The team also began rolling out a new version of the internal error handling pipeline. Now, the Network Operations Center is one of those things that I don't fully understand. I think it has to do with online gameplay, but I don't know exactly what. So that may be something. They've mentioned it a couple of times in the past. Narrative. The narrative team spent the months closing out tasks and submitting numerous bug fixes to help get the next patch ready for release. They also continued to give items, clothing, and armor names and descriptions, and worked with design to improve salvage missions. They also supported initiatives to help newer players learn the game. Additionally, they began working on upcoming content, including a new package extraction, data heist, and consignment retrieval missions. They also looked at expanding the air traffic control dialogue to support new gameplay, including new cargo features. It's another big hint that cargo is 320. Work continued on Pyro, with narrative helping the content team develop lore for the system's initial contracts, and how players can interact with the various outlaw groups. Additionally, they planned upcoming work to further develop the game's Xeno languages. Foreign languages? April also brought a batch of new Galactopedia articles alongside portfolio exploring the illicit drug Widow. Online Services Montreal. In the addition to bug fixes, performance improvements, and updates to the login flow code, the online service team completed work on changes to long-term persistence, or LTP, which is the persistence that we've been used to. We rely on LTP for players to be able to transfer progression between releases. The LTP had to be completely rewritten for persistent entity streaming, as old implementation had fundamental issues and would not fit within the concept of full persistence. The new system monitors the global player inventory and simply creates/destroys LTP records for aggregates stowed in our into or unstowed from inventories. Research and development. In April, the R&D team continued to focus on improving the temporal render. I don't know what that is. And mode for atmospheric and volumetric clouds. It sounds like time renderer, but major obstacles to overcome are still occasional noise and temporal artifacts and the ray-marched results for various view scenarios, as well as the upsampling of results under the presence of thin silhouettes given within a given time frame. Or given frame, R&D team. Additionally, improvements to clouds shaping were implemented and are currently in prototyping stage with tech art. The goal is to improve the global versus local read of clouds, as well as their volumetric look along the vertical profile, all while avoiding shaping artifacts. These changes should also help break up tiling and overcome certain shaping issues due to limited degrees of freedom when building a 3D volume from noise. A set of 2D textures and parameterization used to access them. We're almost done here. Systematic services and tools. In April, the Systematic Services and Tools team progressed with the new Service Beacon refactor and completed several bug fixes for Alpha 3.18.2. This is Tony Z's team, by the way. They also completed various shop optimizations and began prototyping mission markers for bounty hunting. They're currently preparing work on the virtual NPC service. The team planned the next set of milestones for Quantum Odin Tool 2. We've been waiting to hear from him. That's it. Tech art/animation. In April, the tech animation team made significant progress on head asset processing. This involved developing a semi-automated system that has not only reduced turnaround time, but also improved asset quality. The team also continued with DNA integrations, collaborating closely with other teams to integrate their data with the rest of the codebase. Support also continued for various feature teams. UI. In April, the UI art team improved several Squadron 42 features that may eventually make their way into the PU, including improved visuals for radial menus and various weapon screens. Okay. The UI tech team worked on several bug fixes and performance improvements and began work on the new interior map. Okay, so that's something they've been working for a while. I'm wondering if the stuff that may make it into Star Citizen is stuff that is specifically military related. That's the reason why it may or may not make it in. Because that may mean that Star Citizen and Squadron 42 are going to have very different visual appeals. Like they'll have different visual looks because, again, military versus civilian. VFX. Last month, VFX provided support for several props and interactable teams, including new types of volatile cargo. They also progressed with tasks for several locations, such as Loreville and various rock caves. A cleanup pass was also done on some older locations, which involved tidying up the level's layers and making sure placed particle effects were named correctly. Support for 2 new vehicles continued too. Awesome. All right, so we're seeing a lot of mention of interior map, which is nice. The kind of procedurally generated map for like a mini map sort of thing. I'm guessing it's also for like mostly for Mobiglass stuff, but we saw Tony Z's team is working on Quantum, the next set of milestones for Quantum and Odin, which is nice, and the virtual NPC service. R&D is working on some new stuff there's a lot to talk about volumetric clouds and the temporal renderer for a lot of things. LTB got an overhead. Narrative's working on new missions and expanding the air traffic control. And Xeno language stuff, maybe. New caves are being worked on. We got a lot of fire tech work, water volumes, the package extraction, data heist, consignment retrieval missions, all of that. New stuff on things like being able to defend your ship from NPCs. We see salvage munchings being worked on. We see the new refining stuff is being worked on. EVA fuel is finally being added. New Arena Commander racing map for New Horizons Speedway. And an unannounced feature. Engine had engine stuff to say. We have 2 new ground vehicles. Vehicles, which is probably the Fury, which is coming out with a variant, plus a couple of white boxes as well, and the Freelancer is getting its Lot Zero and final art phase for its interiors. So for its component bay pass and everything. So that's almost done too, seems like, which is nice. We got the Dusters and the Frontier Outlaw stuff is being worked on. New skeleton rigs for creatures. AI vehicle features being able to, the new sort of aggressive AI flight mode, how AI is going to fight is being added. AI can now avoid other players and other locations when they're driving around or flying around as well on ground. And animations and just janitor work stuff was done for UI as well, for AI. So that was April 2023 Star Citizen Monthly Report. As always, I'd like to hear your thoughts down below. If you like these sorts of things, if you find them helpful, it really does help. And if you comment, it does help the algorithm a little bit more to kind of like promote it a little bit more. Like the video if you enjoyed this content as well. That also helps. And I'll see you next month. And like I always say, hope to see you someday in the black.